and the people did not clean up at all. They were like hoarders. Stuff was everywhere.
If you were going to give advice to someone buying a home
In LA.
what would their first piece of advice be?
I would say understand your budget. Like, figure out what your budget is, and then look at homes $100,000 or so less than that amount. Because if you're looking at homes, I think maybe it's just me, but I feel like naturally when you set a budget, you start looking at homes closer to the top of that budget because that's going to check more of those boxes of what you want in a home.
I mean, yeah, they're going to be nicer.
Right. So the issue is in LA, at least right now, is if you're looking for homes at the top of your budget, the minute you go to put an offer in, there's going to be at least 3 or 4 other offers that are going to be either all cash, full price, above list, and you're out because you can't go any higher. So I would say definitely look at homes that are less than what you can afford, knowing that you're probably going to have to spend that full amount to get a home.
You also need to be looking every single day, because the day a home goes on market, if it's a home that's remarkably something that's in a place someone wants to live and nice and within a reasonable budget, it's going to have multiple offers same day.
Before people even see it.
Yeah, and you need to be on there fast. So you need to know when that listing goes up. So we use Redfin, but there's lots of sites out there.
Yeah.
Literally every single day, probably multiple times a day, you need to be looking at all the neighborhoods within your price range or set up alerts, because if you're not on it and requesting a showing the second it hits, you're not going to get that opportunity. Yeah. And the other thing is, I think you need to be very realistic about what you want, because there's going to be a realization after you look at enough homes that you're not going to check off everything on your list. So you need to have your non-negotiables either in the home or in the neighborhood, because you might not even have both. And then you need to be willing to sacrifice on something, whether that's commute time or what. You need to be very cognizant of that, because unless your
budget is massive, you're not going to get everything you want, not even close.
Even if it is your budget is massive, you'll depend, and also that depending on where you want to live. For I feel like most people our age, I know they want to live on the west side of LA.
Yeah.
And now if you don't want to do that, then this may not be as relevant. But I feel like for most people, even if you have massive budgets, you're still not going to be able to get the type of homes you can find, say, in the Valley or other parts of LA on the west side.
Right. And, like, just a disclaimer, LA is insanely expensive. So when we say, like, west side versus the Valley, yes, the Valley is significantly less expensive, and you get larger homes for your budget, but it is still insanely expensive. Like, you could buy 5 to 6 homes for an average home price in LA in other cities, like, easily. So it's like, I think to kind of piggyback off of what you said, like, with figuring out the hierarchy of what's important to you, I would say also, after you've seen a couple of homes, being willing to sit back down and readjust those. Because, at least for me, it was, we went in with the expectation of, we're not going to get everything we want. It's going to be smaller than what we had before. It's going to not be probably as nice. It's not going to check all of these boxes. Like, here are a few negotiables. And just for us, like, some of our non-negotiables were, like, I really wanted to have a garage where I wasn't, like, schlepping my groceries from halfway across a condo complex through a garage, up a flight of stairs. Like, that was one that I really wanted, and it was very obvious very early on that that was likely not going to happen. We wanted to be on the west side. We wanted to have a washer and dryer in unit. So we were looking at houses, townhomes, and condos. And so we really wanted a washer and dryer in unit. We really wanted to have, like, a nice kitchen area, because we're both big cooks and that was really important to us. I mean, ideally we would have wanted to have 4 bedrooms, but very early on we accepted we would probably get more like 2 to 3 bedrooms.
Usually there's a step called underwriting after you have a signed contract, but we were actually had gone through that.
So underwriting is the part where they say, we approve you for this amount. We're not just saying you're probably approved, you're approved for this amount.
It means that the bank is basically saying, here's a check up to this amount that we will authorize you, no more questions asked, you're good. So we had that.
And the lender reached out on I don't know on that one, but on several of the homes we actually had the lender reach out and say like, yes, this will close, no problem. Like, because in LA and in general, like sometimes people will make offers, it gets accepted, and they don't actually have the money to back it up. So by our lender reaching out, it was basically them saying like, there won't be any hiccups, these people are solid. So I guess in the end for us, our compromise was location. We really wanted to have more space, and that was really important to us, and so we ended up moving out a little bit further outside of our ideal range, well, a lot further out of our ideal range, but our realistic range, we moved out a little bit further, and I think we got a really, really great house.
Yeah, we got a really great house for that, so I definitely recommend people expanding where they're willing to live, because to be honest, I'm driving the same amount of time I was living in an apartment to a house, so it's definitely worth it for the lifestyle improvement.
Yeah.
And
I will say, like, the area that we live is not the area that we picked out initially, but we still live in a really cool area, and I think as long as you can find an area that you like, because you're going to be spending a lot of time in that area, I think if you move somewhere, that it's worth it to live a little bit maybe outside of like the downtown or whatever the area that people want to live in.
Exactly. It's worth it to get a bigger home because that's where you spend more time.
Yeah. And I mean, for some people, they may say like, I want to live downtown and I don't care if I live in a studio, or they want to live at the beach and they don't care if they live in a 1-bedroom, like, and that's great. That's you, but you have to know what's important to you, and you have to know that you're not going to get everything you want from the very beginning, and be willing to make adjustments along the way. I would say one other thing for me is I tend to get very emotionally attached to not people, but to like things. And it was very difficult for me through the process to get attached to homes that I really liked. And it didn't happen with every house that we put an offer in, some I didn't care about. But others I got really attached because I could see us living there, and then when we didn't get it, it was really hard for me. And there were so many times through the process that I said like, I want to take a break, or I don't want to keep doing this. And I think you have to listen to those kind of things, and if you want to take a step back, talk to your partner if you're buying a home with someone else, and let them know like, hey, I need to take a break, or I need you to just keep looking, or whatever. Just let your partner know. And if you're buying by yourself, don't be afraid to tell your real estate agent like, hey, this is what I want, but I don't want to keep looking, or I need a week off, or whatever it is. You have to look out for that. And thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you are new here, and go ahead and like this video. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.